What takes more courage than people realize? Speaking up when something's not right. Totally. People who have managed to do this through history are responsible for the fact that for many life today is better. Intervening in a situation. 99% of people ignore fights, people getting hurt, or any situation where someone needs to stand up. Ending a long-term relationship. Especially if the two of you actually love each other and are compatible, yet don't have the same long-term goals. In my case, it was very difficult for me to break things off with a guy the first dated for 5 years. Right when I graduated, I moved in with him. We did everything together. We moved to a new state, got a house together, a dog together. My family liked him. On the outside things were great, but we both changed and grew apart in that time. It was hard to even admit to myself that I didn't love him anymore. How did you know you didn't love him anymore, if I may ask? I just got out of a 4-year relationship and I still have questions for myself along those lines. I started building my life without him. It was unintentional, but eventually I realized I was happier when he wasn't there. Asking questions when you don't understand something. Our CFO said in a meeting once, egos are expensive, about this exact thing, and that really stuck with me. Admitting you have a problem. What do you mean? I can stop doing it anytime I want. Next level avoidance. I admit that I currently have a problem, but since I could quit anytime, it's not a big deal really. Leaving a toxic, abusive relationship. Until you've been in one, it's easy to think, well, if someone's mean to you, lays hands on you, cheats on you, then you leave. No brainer, but it's so much harder than it seems. In my case, it felt like unraveling my whole life. Admitting to people outside of my marriage what was actually happening felt like dying. As one of those gifted kids you've heard about, failure is the last thing you want to admit. Being made a fool of is the second to last. Leaving my marriage meant doing both. Not caring what people think about you. It took me a long time to learn this. Owning your mistakes. Getting rid of a wasp nest. Yo, out of all these posts, this is the most relatable. So I was walking out my apartment and ducked a wasp as I exited my storm door because we have a mutual agreement, you don't mess with me, I don't mess with you. Came home after work and realized the buggard built a nest in my threshold, eye level, I'm 6 feet 1 inch. He broke our code of chivalry, so it was time to square up. After an hour of texting my sister, who is 2 years my senior and has relatable adulting problems, and Googling efficient defense strategies, I made a simple Dawn bleach hot water solution. I put on gloves, a hoodie, a heavy leather jacket, jeans, and socks thinking, word, we all set. I took a selfie and sent it to my sister cause she was braindead bored at work, so I knew she'd smile. Opened up my door and the nest was easy to take care of. I sprayed it with the solution, and then all of my kendo training from watching anime prepared me for what was next as I yeeted the nest, using a broom, across the yard over the banister. I cleaned the afflicted area and then somehow noticed something, there was a bigger nest in the corner of the doorframe. I do not fear wasps, though I will never *CK with alligators, crocodiles, but I really didn't feel like being stung after a long day at work. My CSGO training started to pay off as I hid behind my storm door and shot at the nest with the solution. I saw wings and dove indoors regardless of there being steps there, losing one of my chanclas. After I dove, I realized that it was a moth that was attracted to the porch hall light and was glad no one saw, but I was cracking up and sending texts to my sister in real time. She was dying. Broke that nest, made sure the whole doorframe smelled like chemicals and didn't get stung. Turns out both nests were empty and I spent about 2 hours handling it with care cause again I just really didn't feel like being stung. TLDR, I stood my ground against nothing and it took 2 hours, but my sis and I enjoyed it. Giving a speech in public. Very stressful. Fear of public speaking is people's most common fear, death is number 2. Getting clean, sober. 100% this. Nowadays I see posts online or people just saying, it's not a disease, they chose to do it. They have no idea until they've done it or watched someone go through it just how difficult it is to get clean and stay clean. It breaks my heart every time I hear, why narcan them? Just let them die. Learning to live and accept yourself. Getting out of a toxic friendship or relationship. Believing in yourself. Standing up for yourself. Not giving up. Not being a sheep follower. Leaving a job that treats you unfairly. Took me 4 years, the first 9 were great, and I'm still friends with the boss I had during those years. And what finally did it was standing up for my daughter being treated unfairly at her dance school, having been there for 5 years and being turned down for dance team in favor of girls who weren't as good as she was, one who wasn't even old enough to try out. I finally said enough and brought her to a more competitive and unfortunately expensive school where she is a valued member of the dance team, and I realized that it was easy for me to help her because I was on the outside of the situation and knew she deserved to be on that team. Had she sucked, I would have accepted it and helped her get better or find something she was better suited for, but I did consult with her dance teacher, who had no say in the dance team, just in case I was too biased, and she confirmed that she was just as deserving as the kids who made it. So I decided to step back and look at my situation from the outside, having as much confidence in myself as I did in my kid, while also consulting with my former boss just in case I was in the wrong, and say, she can do better, and within 2 months I began a job that was less stressful, making almost $20,000 more than my base salary at the job I had been working at for 13 years. Even my former employees say that I look much more relaxed and happy. And because of that dance school, which is further away, I have very little free time, yet I'm still happier. I didn't ever do things for myself because I was too scared, but teaching my child how to change things she finds unacceptable made me a better advocate for myself. Asking a girl out. That rejection hits us right in our core. When I was young, approximately 10 years, I was rejected by a girl I loved. It was fine, she did it the good way. And was very comprehensive toward it. I would never had a problem with it if it stopped there. I never tried to change her mind either, I just accepted I wasn't the one she loved. But the story doesn't finish here. Sadly, she went out over to her friends and started telling them I've confessed to her. And for whatever reason, they started to make fun of me for the next 3 years. After a bit of time, I asked some of them why they were making fun of me for asking someone out. One just straight up said that I was ugly and that it was fun to see me sad. Yeah, childrens are cruel. This made me afraid to tell my feelings to the point I never tried asking a girl out again for the entirety of my scholarship. Never telling anyone how I felt toward them and never showing anyone if I was sad. I picked fight with many people because of my frustrations, to the point some were literally afraid of me. I once dislocated the right shoulder of a guy and even broke his nose because he stole my glasses. I resolved some of my problems after some time. I changed school and started over, without all the frustration and battles. I was tired of all the fighting. Got new friends, was more happy and even became an extrovert that could speak to anyone at any time. But I never asked a girl out again. I'm quite lucky though, since my best friend from high school became my GF later on. She made the move, since I once told her I would never ask a girl out. She knew about my story and decided to do it. We'll have our 5th anniversary together this summer. Telling someone you care for what they need to hear, even though you know it'll hurt their feelings. Change, even change for the better. Even if given the means to escape the things that suck in your life, you'll find a way to remanufacture the same bullshit that used to drive your blood pressure up, because that's what you're used to and the unknown is scarier than that. Deep down, most people are that horse that would run back into a burning barn, because the barn is home and there are people shouting outside. Change. Living the life you want to live. Society says we have to do all these things by all these deadlines. Fun fact, you don't. But fighting those societal norms isn't easy. Saying that you have depression, I guess. Or having depression and trying to move on. I feel like people won't actually take it seriously in my opinion, 'cause there are some cases that people would just say, move on. Sometimes it's hard to explain, it's worst if you have some type of anxiety too, like social anxiety. It's just my opinion, so y'all please correct me if I am wrong. To go self-employed. If you're in an industry that it's an option it can be great, but there's nothing like the safety net of a regular wage even if you could make more in the long run. I've done it by default really. I was in one industry that was hit by the banking crisis and lost my job. Started doing work for a friend to make ends meet. Now I have my own small company and I have someone who works for me too. I'm by no means a millionaire, but getting to choose your own hours and holidays is great. I don't know if I'd have the courage to do it through choice. It was really hard for a few years and I've been lucky. But it's so much better than working for a company. Saying no and speaking against the opinion of a group. I work in care, so I spend half my week doing team meetings. Most trouble starts because people will just nod in meetings while they are actually not in agreement. We'll then do the agreed job half-assed or not at all, causing stuff to fail. At the next meeting nobody will admit to half-assing the job, so you end up having the same discussion as the last meeting. Very tiring. Swimming in the open ocean. I'm an adrenaline junkie, ride motorcycles, jump out of planes, thrill rides, do rock climbing etc. But swimming in the open ocean where there's no bottom, unknown creatures lurking below, not easy. Success. A lot of people won't embrace a risk because they are not only afraid of the negative outcome but also about the good one. And most of the times we are not aware about this fear and succumb to it out of low self-esteem and self-sabotaging behavior. Enduring a room full of people singing happy birthday to you.